Hey everybody, Jason Ryan here from iAnimate. Hopefully you're all doing fantastic this week. So in this week's snippet, we're going to talk about polish, both the creative and the technical. So when I'm going to polish a shot, especially when I'm working on a feature film, that, usually what happens is we get our blocking, right? We show that to the directors, usually like in step mode, so that we can see our keys and the way that the shot's actually playing, just in sort of storyboard form, right? The storytelling poses, no transitions. And then we show it again with all the animations sort of worked out, like in the lip sync and the facial and all that kind of stuff, so that we're showing it like in two different phases. And then once that's approved, then usually what happens is we'll get like a polish phase, right? Where the shot's basically approved, but we want to see it just with all the nuts and bolts kind of tightened to make sure like the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, just so we get to see the final version. Sometimes directors don't need to see that, and sometimes they really want to see it, right? So usually what I do is I shoot out my shot as a play blast and bring it into Flipbook, and then I notate it, right? And the first phase is I look at the creative side. What can I do to make this shot better? Like, is there anything in here that I can make snappier or push an expression and it's not necessarily like bumps or glitches in the actual shot. It's more about the creative side before I start to smooth things, right? So in this particular shot, this right up here is the unpolished version, and this right here is what I was working on to polish it, right? So I was looking at it and I was thinking like, wow, that hand just kind of comes up really slowly, even though it's basically what I did in my live action reference. Now we're putting the reference aside and making the shot work for the character, right? To make it better than life, right? So what I'm looking at here is like this hand coming up. It felt like it was just up there for too long and it's sort of drifting through, almost like it was underwater, right? So I said, okay, maybe delay that hand coming up so I can hit that. I showed her my true face, just a little faster, a little snappier, so that I can get into that pose a little bit quicker, and so I can see it for a little bit longer too, right? Right, so I get that up there, so snapping up into that, so we get that. I showed her my true face, right? And then coming down into this here, basically like delaying the finger so that it doesn't just come down there and stop, like allowing like the fingers just to sort of like come back down, so it sort of overlaps the action, right? You heard of overlapping actions. That's sort of what we're talking about. So just come in here and stop. That things stop at different times. They overlap, right? Face. This was basically the face seemed like it was late, right? Just by a couple of frames, right? So this is sort of like a lip sync thing that I really wanted to fix. And that's more of the creative side, right? So right here, face, right? So this felt like it was late. So I made it happen just slightly earlier. So it preceded the sound just a slight bit. So it felt like the sync was a little bit better. Okay. And here, I was like, okay, in here, I felt like I wasn't really hitting an accent. And it's like, in this particular moment, you said, yeah, her reaction wasn't very flattering. So I felt like I needed some motion in there for flattering, like just to make it feel like his head was driving forward and giving that line, like just a little bit of a button on it, right? Flattering. So just getting that little bit of an accent there helps. And then the big note that I gave myself was in this little section here. I said, quicken, right? What does that mean? So there was a musical cue that I didn't really pay attention to when I was shooting live action reference. But when I did the facial, when I did the lip sync, I heard that cue and I was like, ooh, that would be a nice thing to hit and then allow me to kind of hit a pose as a reaction and then go into the final line, right? She got downright hysterical, right? So in here, right here, I was like, accent, hit that accent with this expression. This way I can see it for a little bit longer. So you really get to feel like, oh, he just realized something. Now, in the actual context of this shot, he's playing, he's kind of toying with the other person. Like, she got downright hysterical. So it's almost like he's telling a joke, right? And he knows the punchline before he says it. But I wanted to give that little moment just so I could see his whites around the eyes. So it feels like, oh, I'm playing shocked now, right? Right. So in here, this is the old one. Like, and we barely got to see that expression, that whites of the eyes. And I was like, oh, can I push that a little bit further so I can really feel like, oh, she got downright hysterical, right? Just to get that accent out there just a little bit more, right?
She got downright hysterical.
And then in here, again, sort of looking at like the brows here, they were sort of like in a mid-range area, right? So if going from this to wide-eyed for the last line, like it wasn't giving me any place to go. So what I said was, let me try to push these brows down so that when we go into the wide-eyed, we get a bit of bigger transition, a bigger contrast, okay? So then this to this is better than going from this pose right here to that, because it wasn't that much of a difference, right? There was a little difference, but not that much. And I wanted to see if I could push that a little further, right? So that's the basic thing that I'm talking about. So when you go into polish your shots, look at it like in two different phases. Look at the creative side and be bold about it. Like, because, in CG, you save various different versions. It's not like you're just burning like paper, with drawings on it. You can try different things and see if it actually makes it any better as an actual shot, and then go in and start to work on your spacing, right? So different things like that. I will leave till the very end. So like little things like ambient motion on body, like keep the body alive so it doesn't feel like it just hits a pose and stops dead. Make sure there's a little bit of give to it. And usually what I try to do is sort of soften in the direction that I enter that pose in. So I'm just kind of letting it soften just a little bit, maybe start to bring it back up after that. So it almost makes it feel like there's a little bit of a breath in there, okay?
I showed her my true face. Her reaction wasn't very flattering. As a matter of fact, she got downright hysterical.
And that was it, right? So that was the basic thing. So that's usually what I try to do. Like if I'm trying to give myself some fresh eyes, is I usually do a play blast, bring it into a new software, so I can flip it, horizontally or vertically or whatever, just so I can see it like with fresh eyes. And then sometimes like if you flip it backwards, right? So it's almost like a mirror image of your actual shot here. You can kind of see things that you didn't see before, like balance things, maybe expressions that don't quite feel right. They don't feel like they're quite married on the face. And then other things like you'll start to see pops and glitches, that you may not have seen, like because you're so used to looking at your shot, right? Because you're creating it from scratch, right? So you're trying to find it with fresh eyes. All right. So all the very best, you guys. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you again next time. All right. Take care. Bye.